and gentlemen, welcome to the Tapped Out Wrestling Podcast. I'm, of course, Nick McDaniel, and as always, I am joined by Woman Myron.
Today, I'm coming to you live from the Ted DiBiase School for Charity Wrestling Podcasting. How's it going over there, Nick?
Damn, you went straight there, right?
Right for the jugular. Right for the jugular.
Man, that was rough. That threw me off. I don't even know where to go from that, man. That was just rough. Eventful week. By the way, before we even dive into too far, look, lots of stuff going on this week. We had the draft start. We had a new title. We've got AEW's they had their big announcement. We'll get into it in a little bit. Impact actually made news. I mean, which was cool, like big news. So all of it stuff firing up, going on all cylinders. Myron, we got to get you doing some news bulletin and like stuff behind the paywall. So I'm just saying, you got to keep us up during the week because we have to catch up, and there's so much on a weekly that we're trying to catch up on.
Well, what do you think about that belt, Nick? It had them W's right there in the center of it, them logos right there on that belt. I didn't like that belt. It had them logos right in the middle of it.
Lots of cool stuff, and the funny part was I did cut a show. I shouldn't say a show. I cut a video in the car the other day. It was just way too much noise. I was in Atlanta traffic. It was just way too much noise in there. So I didn't. But listen, before we even go down, we got to do our shameless plug, Myron. If I had a chance to release that damn video, I would have done it over on our YouTube channel, youtube.com, Tapped Out Wrestling Podcast, Tapped Out Podcast Network. By the way, friend of the show, I didn't get it up yet, but he did actually send me. We're going to have that Mandalorian review season 3 up over on our channel as well from author MB Mooney. It's really cool. I just had a chance to kind of catch it right before we actually did before we got together to record. So that'll be up there. I'm going to try to do that today maybe as well. So
I have a feeling I'll agree with him, but I got to see it just to make sure.
Yeah, man, absolutely want to check it out. It'll be behind the paywall first, and then I won't. I'll just drop that one straight. So on Sunday, you'll probably get a doubleheader between his video and the. If you were a paying member, you'd have got the show early today on Sunday, and of course the show regularly drops on Monday. Man, we're still getting feedback from the Georgia Indy Draft. I appreciate all the feedback and everything. And I also wanted to say, I agree, man. It was fun to do. Look, somebody reached out to me and said, we should like book it. Like once a month, we should book our promotion. How we like book matches and all that kind of stuff. I said, listen, if I do that, I'm gonna bring in like Sal Renaro, Dylan, or Todd Sexton or somebody like that to actually book it for me. I did draft Todd Sexton, so there was that. So I could just use him and tell him I need him to book my card every one. So.
Jesus Christ. My brain would fuse trying to keep up with all that. Are we going to, I don't know if I can handle that.
Myron, you got to write it. You got to write it out. So that's the difference. So
I got to make a chart like that convoluted explanation I got this weekend on something else.
But Myron,
I don't understand things anymore, people.
No, we're too old. We're too behind the times. That's the thing. But listen, if you're probably watching on the YouTube channel, I always have to do this. You probably see the new sponsor logo up there on the top. Because listen, I openly admit, I've been using Manscaped for a while now. I'm a big fan of the product. I'm not just, blowing smoke up people's ass when I'm talking about the product. I use it all, by the way, all of it. The crop preserver, the lawnmower. I use the nose and ear hair trimmer, all of that stuff, man. Big fan of their product. So.
Well, I'm getting trimmed down for swimming pool season, so it helps my aerodynamics.
Well, I mean, you got to look good in the Speedo, right? The Speedo.
Yeah, I don't want to have any drag on me in the water in case I decide to swim naked, or in the Speedo. So, all preservation. It's my girlfriend gets a little possessive when I go to the pool, dressed like that, but. Some days it's tough being this good looking.
Yeah. But before we get started with the show, new commercial this week from our friends over at Manscaped.
Men, listen up. When it comes to keeping your privates in tip-top shape, use Manscaped's Lawnmower 4.0. Bam! Talking to you, Private Peters. It's time to shape and skate privates. This trimmer features skin-safe technology to help reduce the risk of nick and cuts when it comes to trimming privates.
Yes, ma'am.
No, I meant your actual privates.
Ma'am, yes, ma'am.
That was not an order. And because it's waterproof, you can trim the field, rain or shine. If you like power, the Lawnmower 4.0 has a powerful 7,000 RPM motor, a 4,000K LED spotlight, a wireless charging system, and it's even got a travel lock. So what are you waiting for? Get your privates ready for action and order your Lawnmower 4.0 today at manscaped.com. If you want the ultimate care package, check out the Performance Package 4.0. You'll get the Lawnmower 4.0 and the Weed Whacker ear and nose hair trimmer.
You smell that?
I sure do. I think it's coming from down in your trenches. Luckily, Manscaped includes the Crop Reviver Ball Toner Spray.
A refreshing spritz that's vegan and paraben-free?
I love the smell of ball toner in the morning. If you're using deodorant on your armpits, don't you think it's time for long-lasting protection on your groin grenades? That's why Manscaped also includes the Crop Preserver Anti-Chafing Ball Deodorant.
Fire in the hole!
Attention! Looking smooth, privates. Looking smooth. Get your privates ready to engage by ordering the Performance Package 4.0 by Manscaped today. Receive free worldwide shipping, a free pair of Manscaped boxer briefs, and a free Shed travel bag.
That's right, man. Get your privates in order, just like over at Manscaped. Links in the description, by the way.
I had to use that quiet stroke technology when I was a teenager. I don't know though. It's a good thing you can't cut yourself with those things, because that woman screaming at me would have made me nervous.
Yeah, look, it's safe. So but look, we're like I said, big fans of the product. Yeah. Manscaped, .com. The link is in the description. Just go in there and click and get yours today. All right, man. Without further ado, let's clean up our act literally, and let's get right into the wrestling stuff. Myron. So yes. Raw, I thought I love, I always just kind of roll my eyes when it broke the internet.
Well, I mean, you watch the NFL draft. I could give two shits about that, because I'll watch it. I'll just get the results off ESPN and see how it worked out. Now the WWE draft, I'm going to watch that live, because Michael P.S. Hayes ain't coming out with Roger Goodell. He's going to come out with RVD, who's going to hold his card upside down. Now,
by the way, the fucking paper was probably upside down.
Well, I'm gonna tell you, the funny thing about that is RVD listed off all the people in the Imperium and didn't mispronounce anybody's name with the card upside down. I'm thinking something was different, because he couldn't have done that sober.
Well, how about the paper was actually upside down on the card?
Yeah.
And so he just reads. Anyway, but look, let's go like piece by piece. Let's break this down. It was the draft. Raw, Triple H had the big announcement about the new title, how all that was going to work. So I want to start there first. I think we've learned that people overreact about, that the title's terrible, blah, blah, blah. Oh, great. I forgot. And the funny part was, you do bring up the draft, and I will say there was as many NFL GMs unemployed at home on social media as there are professional wrestling bookers and promoters and stuff who are unemployed sitting at home, doing the IWC justice. But look, first and foremost, I'm going to ask your take on this. Like, I don't know that I'm a big fan of them even having the second title. I understand why. But basically I felt like they said, okay, nobody can beat Roman, so we're just going to make another title.
Here's how you got to do it, though. This is only going to work if you keep that brand split right down the center. And the only way this is going to work is if you keep them separate. And the only way you're going to let Cody back at Roman is if Cody wins one of those big shows where you get the choice on who you're going to face. You can't just let Cody pop back over from Raw to SmackDown. It has to be something special to get him back across there. It has to be a big deal. It doesn't matter what belt they put on him. He has to face Roman Reigns. It's got to be big. You can't just hand him that belt. I'm sorry.
I have the unfortunate thing that I think you're correct. I do believe Cody probably wins this belt. I hope not. I hope they go. Listen, believe it or not, dude, I honestly put that thing on Seth Rollins. To my opinion, by the way, how great would that finals be if it was Cody? Because it's going to be on Raw after Backlash. The brand split's supposed to happen. So if we what if the finals at Night of Champions is Cody versus Seth and Seth wins? By hook or by crook, he wins.
I'm beginning to really like Seth Rollins, and I don't know how that was. Dean Ambrose made the worst decision in professional wrestling, in my opinion. You're a bigger star now, but if you'd have just, honestly, I think had he hung around and stayed in the program, look how big Seth and Roman have gotten.
Yeah, I don't know. That's debatable, but I don't know that they saw him at that level. Maybe.
But do you think who's bigger? Whose match at WrestleMania was truly bigger, Roman and Cody, or Seth and the guy in a drink bottle?
Listen, Roman's was bigger for obvious a million reasons. But Seth, I think the reason, like Seth at Mania, is why I might make the case he deserves and you know me, I hate that term. I could
deserve it.
I can see them putting the belt on him, the new one, because of helping build Cody, doing the Logan Paul match, on and on and on. He's such a team player. I could see them doing that for him. Anyway, I don't like Cody winning it just because I think it feels like a consolation prize at that time.
Yes.
But you did address, so I hate how we kind of got to out of order here. Roman being the first selection on Friday to go to SmackDown. I think the smart part of that is now there's a built-in story of why Cody can't get back to Roman for the rematch. They're on separate brands. They don't wrestle across. If they stick hard and fast to, like you said, to the brand split, Cody just can't have a match with Roman. That's why they don't wrestle. So that to me is really smart. But it also creates, we talked about this a little bit off air. Can Cody win Money in the Bank? If Cody wins Rumble next year, that's how you get back to him being able to cross brands and get to Roman. So again, back to this. I don't think two reasons, by the way. One, I think it does feel like a consolation prize if he wins this other title. But on the other hand, does he look at the lineage being, no, that's the belt that I want. I want the Roman belt. I want that, that's the lineage for the belt they just brought back. Is there even any lineage to it? Are they trying to say that was the old WCW world title lineage? So that's my take.
I have prediction, and this is going to be released before Monday, but I will predict that the Usos get drafted to Raw. Not going to be on SmackDown with the rest of the Bloodline. They get drafted to Raw. Sammy and Kevin will go to SmackDown. But the Usos get drafted to Raw, and they will harass Cody and make his life miserable, trying to get back in favor with Roman.
Could be.
And that whole Usos Sammy storyline will end because they've got their rematch, the WrestleMania rematch. It's gotten old. They're the tag team champions. They'll stay on SmackDown. And is that the only? Well, no, they've got both of the tag team titles, so that'll have to be split or whatever you're going to do with it, because they haven't announced the new tag team championship yet, nope, like they did the new. So unless they're going to cross back and forth to brands, but I think somehow the Usos are someone for the Bloodline.
The women are going to have to cross brands because there's only one tag belt,
and they haven't been drafted yet, have they?
No.
Okay, and you said that the reason the Usos didn't get drafted technically is if they weren't picked up in the draft with Roman as part of the bloodline, they weren't in the pool. So they would have had to been drafted along with Roman and Solo and Paul to
Yeah.
have gone in the draft.
I think so, yes.
Well, high drama? Is that a big thing? Little thing?
Especially when they didn't win. When they didn't win, then it becomes.
Well, they keep telling Solo, "It's your time. I need you to solve this," and he goes out. He just stares at people.
Well, he went out. He went out to help, I believe, or maybe, and Matt Riddle getting involved, I think, messed that up. I think here's the thing: if it were my prediction, I think they're drafted to SmackDown after something happens. I think that we are to the story. I think the story is it's time for the bloodline to crack in half. I think the Usos split off. Listen, we've talked about it. We've heard it. A lot of people want, Jey Uso to feud with Roman. Does Jimmy, because think about it, Jimmy's been like, no, we're good. And Jey even had the cracks of, yeah, but what if we don't win on SmackDown? What's he going to do? What's Roman going to do to us then? What's going to happen to us? What about us? If Roman snaps and is like, they're done, he's tired of whatever, what if Jimmy follows Jey and they split off and go the opposite direction and it's Solo and Roman on the other side? Because now you have head of the table with their brother. Solo's teaming with his cousin over his own brothers.
I'm gonna have to defer to what Paul decides to do on this one because that's so wild.
It's not Paul. It's what Roman wants. Paul's just the messenger. So I think there's drama there. I think they do get drafted to SmackDown. I think there's something there. I think that story needs to continue on SmackDown. So by the way, is it also proof that the heavier the check is, they get more stroke? Because apparently Raw USA wanted Roman on Raw, and they didn't want that new title on their show. Well, Fox writes a bigger check, boys.
Well, the thing is, though, we got to remember USA is owned by the NBC network. Am I not correct?
NBC, Universal, Comcast,
which is not part. That's part of the whole Peacock thing, and there's a bargaining chip right now. And Nick Khan thinks he's got the hand. If I'm not mistaken, Nick Khan thinks he has the gambler's hand, and he can get Peacock to give him basically any amount of money he wants.
He's George Costanza. He think he has hand in the relationship right now.
Yeah.
But guess what, boys? These other teams, these other players are going to get involved. NBCU, by the way, Comcast, NBC, Universal has rights of first refusal for Raw.
Well, I mean, they're pretty much saying that if it wasn't for the WWE, they can fold Peacock and go home.
That was a rumor that went around, and I've said that the day they signed that Peacock deal, and it was for 5 years and as big a check as they wrote it. By the way, I understand there's a lot of arguments out there. They're losing money. NBC, Comcast, NBC is losing money on Peacock. I don't know that it matters, folks. I know this sounds terrible. I think I had a whole conversation with a guy who was in the television industry who was telling me that, by the way, you want to hear a far cry argument? And this is a guy, again, inside the business. There are a lot of people within the business predict that eventually most of the streaming services will even crash. Television, as you know it, cable, everything will crash. And you know who the predictions are of the people that will win the wars when it comes to television? And I'm throwing up air quotes around television. Companies like Apple, Amazon Prime, Prime Video, and YouTube TV. Do you know why those three are the favorites to win? They all make money outside of their television services.
Oh,
television
is secondary.
Amazon Prime Video is a player because they make so much money on Amazon.
It's a perk.
Google owns YouTube TV.
It's a perk.
It's a perk. Same thing with Apple. Think about it. I watched Ted Lasso. That thing has spiraled out of control as far as the budget goes because the show became such a hit. Apple just keeps paying it because guess what it is? I didn't even realize this. It's the #1 show on the Apple TV, on Apple.
Melissa was talking about getting Apple TV just to watch that show, and I'm like, oh, we can't bear another streaming service because our streaming services are easily double what our YouTube TV bill is.
Yeah, that's where we are, and we're like our thing is, we get so many HBO Max, soon to be Max, whatever we get for free. Prime Video we get for free. There's most of them are free. The ones, and by the way, I found some cool tricks for Discovery Plus fans. Threaten to quit, they'll drop your bill for $2 for 3 months, and just continue to do that on a repetitive basis. So instead of $6.99, you'll get it for $4.99. Anyway, just saying.
I've been watching Disney Plus nonstop. Just
Disney Plus, I just stroked. You do like me. I pay when it's annual. I just pay the whole thing and done. I'm done with it.
Yeah, I don't do anything like that.
You should. It saves.
I never know. I never know how much longer I got in it.
Well, my argument with Disney Plus is it's. I think I can't even remember what I pay, but it saves you a pretty substantial amount to pay it annually with them.
I might go into hiding at any moment.
That is true. Sure. Yeah. Anyway, how the fuck did we get sidebarred on streaming service? Anyway, So anyway,
you talk to everybody. You talk to people in television. You talk to lawyers. You talk to more people than any litigator I will ever know. Okay, you're probably people call you to ask for advice.
Well, stuff happens. Mine's like it's from a business standpoint, not from a, I'm not a wrestling person. I'm more of into the business side of it, and other things in general. Obviously, the streaming service thing was just fascinating to me. That's even a conversation that's happening. Anyway, where the fuck were we? Chain. Oh, we were talking about
Atlanta's. No.
I know.
Most favorite wrestling podcast, the highest rating wrestling podcast in Atlanta, and sometimes we don't even talk about wrestling. Imagine what we could do if we just talked about crazy stuff.
Oh, by the way, shout out to the craziest stat ever, I think, Myron. Canada. We were number one. Our number one demographic, as far as countries go, last week was Canada.
The frozen tundra.
Above the frozen tundra.
Is it melting yet?
Yeah, it's melting.
Is the ice caps melting yet? Is it got warm enough in Canada for me to go there with my thin blood?
No.
Do we need to tour?
That touring live shows. That's next. That's maybe that's next on the agenda. But so anyway, we were talking about
hook us up.
Yeah, we were discussing who had Fox bigger paycheck. That's why they got the say and they got Roman, etc. And I do think eventually, I think the Bloodline storyline plays itself out on Smackdown. How about this? God forbid USA, they get the wrestling show. You know what I mean? They get more, and,
who wants to watch that?
Exactly. Yeah. So anyway, so we discussed. So let's move the stories of the night. We talked about the new belt. We talked about that. We talked about the draft ramifications on SmackDown. By the way, AJ Styles returns.
Thank God.
The OC's drafted onto SmackDown. AJ Styles returns with them, and they basically just kicked the crap out of the Viking Raiders. Sorry for the Viking Raiders. Sorry about your damn luck.
I can't get this. I never can remember which side is shooting. Yeah. I'm trying to get the fans to see it. Yeah. That's a prototype shirt we're working on right now. For Pro Wrestling Tees. Keep an eye on that.
Yeah.
But God, it's so good to see the OC back and then strong. Adding Mia Yim, she's always been one of my favorites. She's a badass women's wrestler. I love Carl Anderson and Luke Gallows. Luke Gallows, I've seen him work. One of the best and toughest wrestlers I've ever seen. Mm-hmm. He knows how to call a match.
He can call a match anywhere.
Anywhere. He's terrific. And also very, very funny to be around. Guys, this is a very tight-knit group from Japan and from Northeast Georgia. I mean, I know Carl and Gallows, but I think they reside around here somewhere. And they're frequently seen practicing at some of the local gymnasiums. So just seeing AJ back is so.
Let me ask you a question though: is AJ a heel now? Are they heels or are they still baby faces?
I think they're probably heels now. The Viking Raiders are kind of ambiguous, and it was a good kind of debut because you can beat them up, and it doesn't matter. You can beat them up and kind of judge how the reaction is because it doesn't matter.
Good argument. Glad they're back. I think, look, AJ's the epitome of what I tell people about, look, knowing when it's your time to go there and draw those paychecks. AJ's making great money, great merch. He's a great merch mover. Easy for me to say. But like, I think there's a lot of stuff. Listen, do you want to know why I think it's so amazing he's on SmackDown? I had this conversation with somebody over the weekend I guess it was yesterday, but from Saturday. Still would have been over the weekend though. It was Saturday. Why not AJ? Why not AJ be in the mix against Roman? He's instantly credible. It's instantly credible as long as you put him in the match. Yeah.
He's been all over the world wrestling. He's wrestled Japan. He's wrestled everywhere.
And guess what, Myron?
What?
He's got backup for the Bloodline.
Yeah.
There's a story there to be written. Now the crazy part is Mia Yim. I know she's got a different name. She'll always be Mia Yim.
Chin.
Meat Minchie or something. Munchie, soft and so cuddle. Sorry, that was a toy.
Nick McDaniel, 80s flashback.
Exactly. But is she going to be the one that holds off Solo?
Well, the thing, I always thought Naomi was coming back to help out the Bloodline against some kind of female later on. She signed with Impact. That's a big signing. Everybody's like, well, she followed Sasha Banks and look what happened to her. But why not work with Impact? I mean,
listen,
you don't have to go to Japan.
Out of sight, out of mind. If Impact's where she was going and she was going to get some exposure and stuff, kudos.
Yeah,
work it.
They done had Punk. They done had Punk and Sasha Banks there.
She was a draw.
Yeah,
she draw to the Sasha Banks thing didn't surprise me at all. I don't even know. I guess some things I'm always kind of like
still calling her Sasha Banks.
Yeah, exactly.
How about she has action figures, Mandalorian action figures?
That is cool.
I saw that on Amazon last night.
Look, I'm a fan.
She has action figures.
Yeah.
How cool is that?
Like everybody thinks you're dogging, and I'm like, dude, I'm not dogging her. At least I think good for her. Good kudos. Go out there and get your money. Punk. Let's address the Punk.
I saw pictures. He was there. You still can't prove me. Nobody can prove to me. I have not seen a single. I've heard Dave Meltzer telling me shit. Dave Meltzer telling me shit.
He was there. You saw the picture, the video in the parking lot.
That could have been anybody. Seriously, that could have been any guy talking to a woman in a parking lot.
He was acknowledged that he was there. It was not even like, it wasn't like he was
not seen proof. Not seen proof. It's like Bigfoot. You can secondhand shit about Bigfoot, doesn't count.
So you're gonna conspiracy theory that Punk was there.
I'm a conspiracy theory. Now he was at Impact because I saw pictures of them letting him in.
Pros or cons here, Meyer. What's your take? If he was at 2 events, some people were like, here's my take, by the way. I don't think it's a big deal. Everybody's like, oh, when I put up a thing about, oh my God, you're shocked that some of these people are friends with other wrestlers that work for other companies. So they show, it happens all the time. Think about it. They when I say they allowed, because actually, it's probably not over exaggeration. They allowed Andrade to sit on stage at Hall of Fame with Charlotte.
And,
Buddy Matthews, he got to see. So it's not like it's unheard of.
Buddy Matthews was there breaking kayfabe.
Exactly. He was there next to his girl, who was next to her poppy. So
yeah.
Punk, I was just kind of like, on one hand, I'm like, yeah, he was just there. He was seeing some people, whatever. Then there's a really some people have a take of he's trying to get back into the limelight. He's trying to get the attention because he's coming back for this Saturday show that they're going to have on AEW. So he's milking, any attention he can get at this point. Because look, he can't go back to AEW, right? Because that then it ruins the surprise, I guess, if you want to call it that or whatever.
If you want to generate buzz, go into the WWE show. I don't think that generates positive buzz at all for you, because you didn't prove you were there, and they don't need you to show up. It doesn't help you to show up there and not get any positive buzz. It sure doesn't help them because they don't need you. Impact welcomes you with open arms. and says, "Come, Punk, we'll use you here to grade out as much publicity as we possibly can.
And by the way,
please come help us."
Kudos to Impact.
Exactly. Carney. Wrestling's always better the more carny it gets. And that helped.
Yeah.
And he'll do a little bit more stuff, and you'll start seeing, as long as you don't show up at that shit show GCW, Jesus Christ.
Well, look, he's probably got friends there, Myron. Look, I'm not crapping on anything. I'm not, and I won't crap on any of it. Speaking of which, because we're talking about AEW, right?
Yeah.
Let's transition into what happened with them this week. Talk a little bit about the good, the bad, and the ugly of the show. Actually, you know what? I'm not even going to talk about the ugly. I'm going to give it the good. I do enjoy, I know you're not as big a fan of it as, I am enjoying the 4-pillar story that they're trying to build long-term, especially going, look, we argued this 2 weeks ago about where they're going. They're clearly going there. By the way, what do we always say about storytelling, Myron? Predictable's not necessarily bad.
Nope.
We know they're going to they're going to a 4-way for the title between Sammy Guevara, Darby Allin, Jungle Boy, and MJF. Clearly, we know that's where they're going. Doesn't mean it can't be interesting along the way. I love the Eddie Guerrero-ish finish, tossing the skateboard to Darby Allin, Sammy taking the low, he got hit. But then the officials come back. We're going to get a 4-way next week. A tag match next week. If Jungle Boy and Darby are going to face Guevara and MJF, if Darby and Jungle Boy can win, it's a 4-way at the pay-per-view. Magically, deliciously, let's just say, kind of guess what we think the finish is going to be. We're getting the 4-way, right?
Just because I've watched wrestling for 40-plus years doesn't mean that I've seen every finish. I've seen most of them. And just because I've seen most of them doesn't mean I don't enjoy it still. I mean, Nasty Leroy can still surprise me with a finish if you want to sit through one of his matches. But I still enjoy it. I still enjoy the old Eddie Guerrero bits. I still enjoy the way they just, when it's good, I still enjoy MJF. I think MJF is probably one of the smartest people in wrestling today. I think MJF is probably, I would put him in my top 10. If I were to be booking for the WWE, I would probably want to hire him. I would probably send him to NXT first, and that would break the whole deal. And, you know, I wouldn't bring him in directly. I would send him to NXT to smooth off some of the rough edges. Okay. But he is smart. He's smart. He's a good. I think he's been around too many people long enough.
I'm going to ask you a question of this though. We talked a little bit about the bidding war of 2024 and MJF.
Yes.
I've said this, by the way. I've said this about Roman in other scenarios. Why is Roman's title reign? I'm gonna throw title in the middle so it doesn't blur together. So long. I think they believe when he leaves, like he's gone, like he's like almost like The Rock. There was a lot of meat left on the bone with Rock when he left because he went star and he was gone. Roman is like a Jason Momoa like star, a potential. I think MJF's title reign, the reign of terror, as he likes to call it, you need to get every ounce of it out of it that you can, because I think WWE's going to make a major push to get him. And I understand everybody's like, well, there's more money, and are you going to be willing to pay MJF? Like, in my world, I call it fuck you money. Because I think that's what it's almost going to take. It's like to keep him in AEW, they're going to have to throw a dumb kind of amount of money at him.
Well, yeah.
Will they? Maybe. But if you think there's a possibility you're going to lose him, then you're going to milk this title reign for every ounce you could get out of it. I think he can help build those other three. Also, by the way, for the sheer thought of if he does leave, let's use him to build up three other talents. So I think that magic is there. But that's just me. I think you milk him for everything you can get from him because he might be gone.
I think based on that beautiful statement he made about those banger moments that people take pictures of and post on the internet aren't going to pay your medical bills.
Yeah.
And being around Darby Allin, being around him will probably, add another 20 years or 10 years onto Darby Allin's career if he can quit doing that stupid shit. And I think that will benefit all the young guys around him. As far as him coming to WWE, I would like to see it. What they do with him is probably the only variable. Could they use him correctly? Could they make it work? Are they gonna sign him and then just let it go to shit? Are they gonna miss him? Do you think they've got anybody they know could book him? Now I'm sure Michael Hayes could book him, could help get him booked right. I'm sure one of the guys that's been a heel forever could get him booked right. But do you think they'd miss on him? I mean, do you think he would get stuck with the wrong writer? Do you think he would get stuck and they'd miss the whole boat with him?
It's a risk. It's always a risk.
I mean, I would, if I was them, I would probably sign Cornette at least for an advisor job of some kind with him, just to sharpen him, just to sharpen his writing up, just to get him started with WWE.
I just don't think here's the thing. As talented as I think Cornette is, I don't think he's a fit in WWE anymore.
Well, he is the Stegosaurus of wrestling commentators.
I think if they felt he was a fit, he would be in NXT. And you see who they have running NXT, and they're not necessarily wrong, because you, of all people, watched NXT this weekend. What did you say?
Oh, wow. I watched Spring Breakin', and I had so much fun with that. Like this week, I actually had time to add another, instead of my 2 regular programs, Raw and SmackDown, I had an opportunity basically during the week to add one more program. And I picked NXT Spring Breakin', and I had a blast. It was fun. It was campy. It reminded me, everything I see that's got the Triple H and Shawn Michaels fingerprint in it reminds me of old school wrestling, where they had the dummy, silly backstage promos, and just the energy and the characters. They really work hard to make those people practice their characters and get out there and work. WWE is developing these stars so much. They've got probably, you saw how many women wrestlers they picked, 3 or 4 already out of NXT.
Zoe Stark. Off the top of my head,
Yeah.
Indy Hartwell, the tag team champions, and Zoe Stark. I know off the top of my head were picked already.
The picks. They were picked already. They had a crop of women's. It was so many women's wrestlers. It was almost like I would be worried that they had a glut of talent and some of them would get into, I was going to say, the draft portal, like the NCAA, because there were so many of them. They're just covered up in talent, and they're developing it well. It was a good show. I think if I have the chance more often, I'm probably going to keep watching. And with the draft, there's going to be we got to get the belts off these people. Indy Hartwell's the champion. The tag team, I don't know the name, Isla Dawn and Alba Fire. Isla Dawn was wrestling in Atlanta, and we saw her wrestle. I think it's terrific to see some of these people develop so well.
Mm-hmm. Let me ask you this: out of just the 4 off the top of my head that I can remember, the tag team, the Zoe Stark, and the Indy Hartwell, who's your, probably, if you had to pick one of those 4, and because you can break the tag team up, by the way, who's your one that you think makes it?
Indy Hartwell.
Yeah.
Indy Hartwell.
Merch mover, you think?
Merch mover, height, talent, looks. I'm not even saying anything about her. She's very talented, but I put into things.
Listen, it's who's going to connect, who's going to be a merch mover, and those type of things. And I agree. I think she's probably the one. So, anyway.
I look for, like I said, it was fun. And that's what I'm looking for in wrestling. It's fun. I'm too old to sit here and dig through a bunch of crap and not enjoy it, or watch let's watch some serious backyard wrestling. That's gibberish.
Yeah.
I like
So,
this.
If you want some good wrestling, by the way, that's going to kind of lead us into our next segment, by the way. The new segment we debuted last week, the Pro Wrestling Tees segment. So we dug a little, this one we went close to home. I said, listen, there's no effing way we're going to do this segment another week without having like this guy on the spot. So without further ado, the Pro Wrestling Tees T-shirt of the week we're going with is the Game Breaker Nick Halen. There's the Game Breaker shirt, obviously very Hitman inspired. Listen, Pro Wrestling Tees, go over there and search Game Breaker Nick Halen. He's got multiple shirts, by the way. We put this one up. This is kind of like one of my favorites that he's got up there.
Oh, yeah.
So check it out. Buy a Nick Halen shirt. Support Nick Halen. I'll put the link, by the way, in the description as well. For those that are on the audio podcast or not on the YouTube, not watching. Obviously, if you're on YouTube, you see one of the shirts. Listen, make it a combo deal while you're there. Pick up one of our shirts. Pick up a couple of theirs. There's lots of them. We had last week. We had Air Paris as the choice. So grab a shirt at ProWrestlingTees.com. Just go in there and search Game Breaker Nick Halen and Tapped Out Wrestling Podcast. Pick up a shirt. Like I said, the link will be in the description. That's our choice of the shirt of this week. Looking forward, Myron. You got to come up with one for next week. I'm going to let you go back to picking that one.
Oh, yeah. I tell you what, man. Yesterday, I tried to find a T-shirt that was not either wrestling or comic book related. And
struck out.
Well, I found a baseball shirt. That's all I had.
Sounds about right.
I mean, how many black T-shirts can one man own? The white one I wore was Bruiser Brody.
Oh, I did see that.
If you want to swing by, Pro Wrestling Tees has everything. I have a Parts Unknown shirt. I have Mick Foley shirts. I have 2 Dr. Tom shirts, but I think my daughter steals my Pro Wrestling T-shirts and takes them to college as a nightgown. I'm a large fellow, if you can't tell. But this top quality stuff, folks. They last me forever. You don't get holes in them. I don't think I've ever torn the armpit out of one, which I tear the armpit out of everything. So give them a look.
Yeah, absolutely. And while you're giving it a look, Myron, hey, I came across something on Pro Wrestling Tees. As soon as we are done recording this, we're going to record something for Behind the Paywall. We're not going to be done. It's not good. That's all I'm going to say. And if you want to see it, by the way, if you were a member on YouTube.com, Tapped Out Wrestling Podcast, search it, Tapped Out Podcast Network. It'll be behind the paywall. I'm literally got a strong enough opinion that I'm like, it's going to be behind the paywall. I'm not going to do this one on air. However, it will not, that special bonus will not be on the audio feed. But look, we want to acknowledge the fact we understand there's lots of people out there that are Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeartMedia, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music, anywhere and everywhere you find your podcast that you listen to. Give us a 5-star rating and review. We'd greatly appreciate that. Because, Myron, I literally got this while we were recording. It came up on my phone, and somebody asked me my take on it, and I'm like, okay, this is a video behind the paywall for sure.
Oh, Lord. The bat phone rang.
Yes.
The wrestling equivalent of the bat phone has rang. Is Commissioner Gordon on the line with more questions about wrestling?
Yeah.
Wrestling business. For the man behind the mask, here there in the bottom of the bat cave, answering questions.
Yeah.
For everyone.
You brought up the NFL draft. I'm a nerd. I love the draft. I was talking to Skrilla. We were messaging back and forth. I was trying to tell him, draft days when I can watch that movie over and over. Moneyball, kind of the same thing. It's kind of a different. It's not draft, but it's the business part. I'm just such a behind the scenes geek. It's why I love Jeff Jarrett's podcast. It's why I love Eric Bischoff, especially Strictly Business. I tell people all the time you should be subscribing and listening to that. If you are not, it's a phenomenal podcast.
The second show you listen to after we finish ours.
Yeah, exactly. But NFL draft, came and gone, went over the weekend. Lots of people going crazy, Myron. I wanted to ask your take on the air. Look, why are people so shocked? Well, okay. I'm shocked that Philadelphia Eagles have drafted so many Georgia Bulldogs. I'm not shocked that a bunch of Bulldogs get drafted. And somebody was like, well, why aren't, that's just a lot from one team. Yeah, Alabama was doing that when they were racking up national championships.
Yeah, 2 national championships in a row. That would mean they've got some of the best players in the country.
Correct.
So I was shocked to see so many going to that one team and then them trading to get another one.
Yeah.
The running back.
Yeah.
So I just read through and I was like, Philadelphia. And then people were posting memes, Philadelphia Dogs. Man, and then I'm looking at it, and it's like, what, 5 or 6 players?
Yeah. By the way, if that T-shirt's made, Gary Lamb, yeah, I'm gonna need a couple of those.
I'm gonna may have to get one myself, and I might have to. God, am I gonna start supporting them? I saw the kick-ass Falcon table that we were raiding the Goodwill yesterday. Oh man, it was a helmet with a thing on the top, with a tray on the top. But God, if I have to follow the NFL too, I'll never stop.
I do follow the NFL. I'm a big NFL mark. Obviously, I've done fantasy leagues, all that kind of stuff for years now. But I'd love to know, tappedoutpod@gmail.com. Who were your winners? Who do you think had the best draft? Don't give me definitive, I think they did, they did the best. Well, let's see.
Rams got the biggest steal.
You think so?
Stetson Bennett? Yes.
Hey,
he's an inherent leader.
He's going to hold a
He
clipboard.
might be. Huh?
He's going to hold a clipboard behind Matt Stafford's what he's going to do.
Yeah, but he'll be a benefit because he held a clipboard and he was on the scout team pretending he was other people for a while.
I will tell you what I like to see. I'm such a nerd. I don't have it in front of me. I didn't think I was even going to talk about it. Like the things that I go down the rabbit hole of is I love to see who got the best end of a trade. Like Russell Wilson was traded for a bunch of picks and players for blah, blah, blah. So, but now all of those pieces have been played out. Like now you can say they got Russell Wilson and this player with a pick. And then, it was like Seattle got this, and so now they've drafted all those players and everything. This is everybody they got for this. And you can kind of make it like, that's how nerdy I am, Myron.
Well, I like the things where you look at 20 years later, how did that number one pick play out?
Agreed.
Jamarcus Russell
worst
to the
pick
Raiders?
ever,
Yeah.
I always tell people, if you're an NFL player and you come to camp fat, like, dude, you had one job. That was to show up in shape. That's
all you got. Shit, I'd collect that check and come fat.
Yeah.
I'd cash
how
that
long?
check and
Yeah,
come
but
fat.
because those checks, he got his guaranteed money and that's it. He was done. He hadn't been back since.
What you need, man.
Well, I don't know if it's not enough, man. But so anyway, so this weekend, man, what do we got this weekend, Myron? Before we get out of here, we got to talk a little bit about
May 6th. We are packed. Not only have we got Bad Bunny in the whole thing and Backlash, which May 6th is a Saturday. On May 1st, the actual roster split goes into effect.
No, it goes
the Monday
after
Backlash.
Yeah. That's the 8th.
On the 8th.
Yeah.
On May 6th, we have Elevate Pro, the Fight League.
Yep. Gary Lamb and them up at the Action Builder are going to be running their MMA
and
show.
You're going to that. I myself am trying to go to Southern Fried because this is the show where they're going to announce all their competitors for their all-woman show coming up.
Yep.
So I might need a ride, folks.
We're going to have to see. There's the celebration.
I got to be there for the celebration.
So that's what we'll see. We will see. I'll have to figure out where I'm going to be at because, hey, the running joke was Nick might be in Florida. You never know.
Yeah.
So that's all got to be worked out in itself. So we will see. Time will tell. So looking forward to a big weekend. So,
and then the next week, the next week's packed full of wrestling too.
Yeah.
And the 50th anniversary of Southern Honor. Sorry, the 50th show.
Yep.
I keep thinking 50th. The 50th birthday of my beloved, my domestic partner, Melissa. It's her 50th birthday. So I will be singing karaoke miserably while Southern Honor has its 50th show.
Yeah.
I love independent wrestling, folks. I love my girlfriend more. But then again, you got to realize I have to live with a woman. So
yeah,
I don't have to live with Gary Lamb.
Sacrifices.
Or Dylan Frymer.
Sacrifices.
So I'm going to. Until I lay down next to Dylan Frymer every night, I'm going to choose my girlfriend over them.
I don't know. He's pretty cuddly.
He would be cuddly.
Yeah. Anyway.
He could keep me warm on long nights.
But
And him and
anywho,
I wonder if our little dogs would like each other.
there you go.
Yeah.
So, by the way, happy belated birthday. I told him happy birthday the other day. But yeah.
One of the nicest human beings I know.
Yeah, I agree.
And
well,
a great booker.
Yeah, phenomenal booker. But hey, look, that's all I've got this week. You got anything else before we take off out of here, man?
I doubt we can cram any more shit into this show today.
I agree with you, brother. Well, what's the old saying, man? If I've got nothing and you've got nothing, what time is it?
It's time to tap out.